Yeah, I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. Yo, grew my hair and took the grill out. Think it's time to put it back in. Trying to get into that big house, turn the crib into the mansion. Needed something with that big bounce. You know I had to hit Jackson. Aaron Rodgers with the quick routes. I'm with the gang, we packing. We on the field at Lambo. Might peel in a Lambo. Running drills in my camo. They know what the M stand for. Still got fam in Hawaii, yeah. Couple fans in the lobby, yeah. Couple grand in my pocket, yeah. Couple grams of wasabi, yeah. Eye it up, no glasses. Light it up, no matches. Wife it up, no ratchets. Might turn my wife to an actress. And we gon' make a movie, no Kim K. Give a fuck about what your friends say. I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
I'm just sticking to the code, I keep it so G. She asked me what I smoke, I'm smoking OG. I don't fool with too many, only catch me 4 deep. Gotta stay away from snakes, swear these people so creep. I've been grinding for a minute, many labels so asleep. These rappers drop a song, be hot for about a week. I put Gucci on my toes, I keep some cold feet. I ain't paying for no hoes, you niggas know me. I'm about to body the beat. I keep me a hottie with me. She wanna for a fee. Give me that for free. Keep me some money on me. Smoking the gas, keep. You with me, sheesh. But need OG keep.
I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
Yeah, head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test, now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, so nobody's into me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in mine, yeah. Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it, now I can't afford to wait. I just had a fan hit me up from Kuwait. Told him this would happen, now we not a minute late. Seen him down bad, now they tryna hate. Same ones try to hit me for the raise. Got a mail, now they coming with a blaze. Check the numbers, fam, I swear I'm getting paid. I'm a Don just like the Perrier. It's one time when I'm looking at a face. On the low like I'm pushing up the bass. Told him come myself a place. They get some money and they blow it on bait. I don't flex, but I'm pushing all the weight. Told them all, I swear I got it's what it takes. Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it now, I can't afford to wait. I just had a fan hit me up from Kuwait. Told him this would happen and we not a minute late.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On a roll, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Mafia, Bitcoin getting a little crack of the high here as we kind of consolidate around between, I guess, $110,536 and about $108,500. We are creating a little bit of an upward trending parallel channel type thing, but I want to break down the charts for you guys. I want to show not a new range, but an old range that we used to look at that we are now is now currently relevant as we have come back into that value area. I'm going to cover these local levels with you guys. We have the 4th of July tomorrow. Are we going to see fireworks on the 4th of July for Bitcoin? We'll see what happens. Obviously, with the low volume, we could see some wonky price action. But I think it was last 4th of July we had a pretty epic dump to the downside. I'll never forget that because I almost lost a I almost lost like a used Honda Civic because I did not have a stop loss set. But luckily, I was able to not get liquidated on that position, actually close it in profit. But I'll just never forget that. It's like PTSD. But yeah, we're going to break down the charts for you guys. I'll show you these local levels that I'm looking at. If we get a pull to the downside, we do have some new support levels to look at. And then if we break out here, guys, we'll cover the long term as well. There's not a ton to update here based off my long term kind of bias here on my sentiment, with a breakout eventually coming in here at some point soon. So we're going to cover that all with the CandleMafia. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Every single one of you guys. We got, let's see. We got Wolf in the chat dropping those candles. What is going on, bro? Welcome in. We got Dutchy in the chat. Said, oh my God, this is the real Frankie? Shout out to Dutchy. Yeah, you guys have been talking to my clone pretty much ever since 2023. I'm finally back here. But We got CandleMafia's John Cena in the chat. Said what? He says fireworks to the downside. Yikes! We'll talk about a potential correction coming in here, guys. We do have some higher time frame red dots looking to print, but overall, I will say before we even start the stream here, guys, from a long-term perspective, I am going to, as I have been for quite some time, my sentiment does still remain the same, even if we get a bigger pullback here. I do think, and I'm going to show you guys like the bearish case, although I don't really want to call it the bearish case because it's still a bullish case. It just, requires a little bit more of a pullback. I will talk about where I will look for that pullback to come in at. And overall, guys, I do think we could be on the cusp of new all-time highs. Please, for the love of God, I hope we are. But I'll show you what I'm looking at on the chart. Let's see. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. Said any large pockets of liquidity. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. Welcome in, bro. We'll take a look at the liquidation heat map as well. We do have some liquidity sitting above the highs right now. I'll show you exactly where that sits. It's kind of a large pocket, obviously. I will actually talk about that, Rob, because not only is there liquidity above, it's a pretty big pocket. So shout out to Rob. Show the mod some love in the chat, guys. We got Darren Does Things in the chat. Chemistry, bro. Captain Kirk. Darren Does Things. I said Darren Does Things. Crypto Anon. You guys know who they are. Crypto Billy. Dave Digital. Show them some love in the chat. Evening, boys and girls, with the handshake. Shout out to Darius. Welcome in. We got Levi in the chat. We got Perry. What is going on, man? Welcome in. We got Jesse, our like police. Please don't forget to smash that like button, guys. The more likes we get, the more giveaways we'll be able to do. And I'm not 100% sure, guys. I don't want to say no stream tomorrow because obviously it is a holiday. I'll have some stuff that I'll be doing. But if we get some kind of a crazy move to the upside, I'm going to probably have to go live or at least put out a market update. So maybe we'll do the giveaway. Yeah, Tony D, let's do the giveaways tonight. We'll do them a little bit towards the end of the stream. If we get 550 likes on tonight's live stream, we'll add a Frankie Candles hat to that giveaway. So smash that like button if you have not already. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to the Emperor. We got Eddie in the chat and Nirvana. And last but not least, we got Manny in the chat. Hey, Manny, how you doing, brother? He says, shout out to Frankie. The candle's on fire. Let's go. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Shout out to M. Knife said 15 likes. Good Lord. Everybody smash up that like button right now. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the charts. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are. I'm actually going to go ahead and hide this range. We'll come back and revisit. Actually, you know what? We'll bring this back up in a second. And I will actually just go ahead and grab this. I believe that is these. Okay, bada boom. I'll drag that into the other range here. And we will revisit that in just a minute. But first off, I do want to cover the higher time frames with you guys, and then we'll zoom into the local price action. You can see I do have these Fibonacci extensions up here in case we do want to get the earlier breakout here. You guys know we have that larger trend line here. We're trying to pop above here, guys. And again, any pullbacks to lower prices, even if we do have to break that local low down here, the question is, are we going to get the quick rip to the upside, the early escape, or are we going to have to go down for a little bit more of a correction? And I will go over that scenario with you guys today as well. But just because it's on the chart right now, I will say that the upper targets here, if we do put in a new all-time high, once we break $112,000, I will be looking directly into this zone, sitting between about $115,329 up to about $120,000. You can see the in between there, you have about 117.8K. So this is going to be a zone. So this is kind of what I'm going to be looking at in case we do break into a new all-time high sooner than later. I don't know. Fireworks on the 4th of July? I don't know. Maybe fireworks into new all-time highs, or is it going to be fireworks to the downside? I'm going to cover that on tonight's live stream, obviously with you guys, so you have an idea of what I'll be looking at. But to start off, let's go ahead and cover the higher time frame. So if we look at here, I'm going to start here on the weekly and start to piece together some of these bullish puzzle pieces, right? We do have the daily, weekly green dot printing. This will, as long as we don't get some kind of massive dump, this is likely to confirm on Sunday, unless we get, obviously a big drop to the downside. It does look pretty good right now. Also, you have your money flow cooking to the upside here on the weekly as well. This is very, very good because, as you guys know, the weekly money flow crossing over into the red has historically given us those drops into the massive bear market. This is, as we were sitting down at $75,000, this was starting to look, we were looking at this weekly money flow like, hey, guys, this is looking, like we're trending out here. It's not that bullish looking. However, with our analysis, being able to understand the levels we were coming into, the bullish confirmations for that likely new all-time high, which we did absolutely see, not just the money flow coming out on the weekly is going to make us instantly bearish, but I will say on the rise to the upside, seeing this weekly money flow, especially like locally peaking to the upside here, is somewhat of a very good sign. we talked about this yesterday. Is it possible to just kind of roll over here and put in another lower high before continuing down and crossing into the red? Sure, that would support a potential top of the market here for a massive bear market. That is not the camp that I fall in because of the money flow coming up. We have the fresh weekly green dot, and with that weekly green dot, guys, we did get the 10-hour money flow crossover. Now, this is technically a high time frame bullish market cipher B116 setup. If I put that horizontal line or vertical line here on the 10-hour money flow crossover, right? Then we come on over to the weekly time frame. You can see this did happen during the printing of that weekly green dot. So there is a long-term bullish sign on market cipher B for a potential continuation to the upside. And if you are going to look for that to happen, right, you would hope that obviously this money flow would have to stay in the green. But you could kind of see here, right? This is kind of similar to what happened when we were breaking out of the trend line back here when we dipped down to $75,000, right? We had this long-term trend line crossing over here, and then we started to break above it, right? And then you get that 10-hour money flow crossover into the green. And I actually didn't even check this. I probably should have. Was this confluent with the weekly green dot? Well. Just look at that, right? Now, this wasn't not an oversold anchor wave, but it was below the zero line, so it is a little bit of a different situation. But just in general, when you have that weekly green dot, you see the 10-hour money flow crossover into the green, it could indicate that a longer-term trend to the upside could continue, right? Money flow crosses into the green. You start to break out and retest that trend line. You start to get the bigger breakout, higher lows, and higher highs were to come. So just, bullish sign number one. This is, again, long-term. It doesn't mean you can't pull back locally, obviously. And it also doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to play out, right? Yesterday we saw the 90-minute, or 2 days ago, technically, we saw that 90-minute money flow indicating a high probability, right, of a potential lower high coming in here at about $107,000. But what happens, right? We come down, we have the 90-minute money flow cross into the red, right? We do technically get a little continuation to the downside, but as we pushed into this golden pocket 786, there was not a super big amount of bearish confirmations, and we know once we flip that 786, it could potentially, and actually it wasn't even this, it was this, the golden pocket, right, you would look at this money flow in the red, right, or money flow starting to cross over into the red, because on that live stream, right, if I pull back bar replay mode, right, we were kind of sitting like right over here saying, well, hey, when you have money flow crossing over into the red with the fresh daily red dot, which was printing at the time, right, you would think to yourself, well, hey, if we get the retracement to the upside, you do have to be careful of potential lower highs and lower lows to come, right? But what happens? We come back up there, and then we flip that 786, and we actually talked about this, right? If you get above that 786, it would invalidate that lower high, potentially looking for a bigger rip to the upside. So you can kind of see how these things are, it's not going to be binary, like money flow coming out, you have to make the lower high. Obviously, nothing in trading works like that. If you've been trading for more than 5 minutes, I think everyone understands that. But, just to kind of show that with the weekly green dot and the 10-hour money flow crossover, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get that move. I don't want anyone to ever get that twisted. And this was just kind of a perfect example this week where it's like, well, hey, money flow crosses into the red. At this point, you're going to look for lower highs and lower lows, and then you creep up towards that golden pocket 786. You totally disrespect it, flip that 786, and what happens, right? Flip that 786, invalidates the lower high, and then a higher high is more likely, and you come up and crack that structure to the upside. So just to kind of give you guys a little breakdown of kind of how you can look at that stuff, let me come out of bar replay mode here now. Bada boom. There we go, right? So that's kind of number one. Weekly green dot, 10-hour money flow crossover into the green is overall pretty good looking, right? And then obviously, not to mention that we do also have the 2-day money flow crossover, and I will show some of the bearish signs that could call for a pullback as well. But just overall, right, 2-day money flow crossover into the green with our monthly green dot now confirmed. That happened while the monthly green dot was printing. That's another high time frame market cipher B116th bullish setup. And just in general, guys, we are just kind of getting to that point where we have potential rate cuts incoming. It just does even structurally look like we could potentially put in a new all-time high here. And that, the most bullish situation there obviously would be, right, crack above the major trend line, hold it as support, right? And this is not the exact trend line that I'm looking at, right? I'll just kind of adjust this a bit, right? We kind of crack above that trend line, right? Is it going to be the early breakout, right? And we're just going to get that send to the upside, or are we going to go back for one more correction, right? And I'm going to show you guys on the lower time frames what I'll be looking for. But overall, seems pretty good to me. Now, the one thing that goes against us on the higher time frames would be the daily money flow, which is technically trending to the downside. We'll have to see how this develops, guys. And again, when I cover the correction to the downside, we do have some mixed signals, right? Weekly 10-hour, high time frame bullish setup. 2-day, monthly, high time frame bullish setup. But this daily could indicate maybe one more bigger correction coming in. I can't say say if it's 100% going to happen, but these are just the signs that we're seeing on the chart. So we'll have to watch that daily money flow. If you want the early breakout, you are hoping that money flow, it is coming up locally right now, but again, that could just be a lower high. But you're hoping that this is a complete fake out. If you want the early breakout, you're expecting this to be a complete and total fake out of money flow, and this is going to come back up massively into the green. Very similar to times where we've seen that happen in the past, like back here. You can see money flow crosses into the red for like 2 seconds, and then you just scam back to the upside. So you're expecting something like this if you want the early breakout, but if you're going to go by money flow, it would indicate that you should be pretty careful, because if that crosses into the red, the bigger correction could come in. So let me go ahead and bring up some of these key levels. Come in and check in on chat real quick. Let me crack this Aztecian Cactus Orca water really quickly. Bada boom, bada bing. Shout out to JP, said bullish 2-day breakout confirms today at target at $114,000. Not too far off of my next targets to the upside. Shout out to JP. Let's see, 132K was and is still my top. Shout out to Nirvana. And we'll see what happens up there, guys. You know, I talk about between about 120 and 137K being my first next big bull market target if we do come into those all-time highs, which, again, I do expect to happen at some point in the near future. I'm not saying it has to happen tomorrow, but you know, if we do get that, right, I don't want anyone to get it twisted, right? It's not that I don't think that you can get above 137K, right? Obviously, we had our first bull market target here, big bull market correction. Everybody gets scared. You put in the higher low, the higher high. If we're able to continue up here, obviously, you know, I would say 120K to about 137K is going to be the next big target. Let me actually just adjust that a little bit. But it's not that you have to put the top in there, right? But it would make a lot of sense if Bitcoin decides to put in a new high here, right, and we start cooking up to this level. And we also, I'm going to pull up Bitcoin dominance as well, right? We see Bitcoin dominance approaching key resistance at that macro 786. If we can get that to pull back, it would line up, right, with a big push into this resistance level. And then finally, maybe we can get the altcoins to start to move. And you start to time that out with potential rate cuts incoming as well, which is another condition that has been met every other alt season that we have not seen happen this cycle yet, right? So if we do come up here, you know, again, I am definitely going to be very cautious up here in case we do start to form some kind of a top. We get those bearish confirmations up here, potentially could indicate that the top is coming in. And I mean, for the bull market, this is not me saying that this is going to be the top. This is impossible to predict. If we get up here, right, you know, you could potentially get some cool-offs if things still look good. Maybe you put in a higher low and a higher high, and we could target that next big extension level, which sits between about 155 and 175K. I would love for 155 and 175K to come in, and maybe even higher, right? But, you know, don't get it twisted. If it looks like the top is coming in up here, guys, I'm going to have to keep the information as raw and data-driven as possible, and I'll have to look at those. Confirmations, right? And if we do get them, hopefully they don't play out, and we can keep cooking to the upside. But that is not how I'm going to be reacting to the charts, right? Or reacting to, you know, that's not how I'm going to be handling my personal spot bags, right? And again, you know, if that does happen, you know, it's probably going to take some time, right? It's not just going to happen tomorrow when the top is in, right? And then hopefully we get an exciting alt season. And, you know, I just like to get everybody a little bit prepared, because once that comes in, I said this, you know, many a times over the past few live streams, this is where everybody gets perma-bullish, right? Every dip is a buy the dip situation, just like they were saying back here, or most people were saying back here, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, right? But we saw those bearish confirmations, and we stuck to them, and it did wind up being the bear market, right? So if we get the signals up there, we'll look at them. If not, then we could look up towards those next targets. But just in general, I know a lot of people are probably wondering, like, cycle-wise, like, how high could we go? I would say 120 to 137K would be the first next big target. Then we can look up towards about 155 to 175K. But if we get up even into this first level, guys, this is new all-time highs. Oh, my God. It's on the mainstream media. Everyone's calling for $1 bazillion, right? This happened last cycle as well. And what happened? We didn't get anywhere close to $1 bazillion. I'm just kidding. Some of the higher targets were, like, pretty crazy last cycle, though. 100K was obviously the most common one. There were some people looking for 350, 500. You know, this always comes in near a market top. But hopefully this time, you know, hopefully we can get above those levels, but just don't get it twisted here, guys. Be very, very cautious here. It's usually the conservative targets that wind up being the top, not the massive, you know, crazy ones that everyone calls for. So just keep that in mind. But we'll keep you guys updated here every single day as we typically do. But jumping on down here to the lower time frames, shout out to Zach. Thank you so much for the super chat, bro. He said, shout out to the GOAT. Never wrong since I am watching you in January. Made a bet with my friends when you will be wrong for the first time. I got July. Hey, shout out to Zach. If I am going to be wrong in July, I hope it is wrong in my prediction to any down movements. Or, actually, I guess my longer-term target is to the upside. Yikes. So if I am going to be wrong in July, that would mean that the bear market is here. So hopefully, right? Hopefully that's not the case. But shout out to Zach. That's pretty crazy. Let's go. Shout out to Zach, man. Let's see. Bada boom. All right, smash those likes button. Let's go Bitcoin. Shout out to Joe. Welcome in, bro. We got CG Beats with that check mark. What is going on, man? Welcome in. He said for spot bag entries, would you wait for a pullback? Shout out to CG Beats. This is a little bit of a difficult question only because, like for me personally, right? If I were a new crypto investor, I would not be thinking how I think now, right? Because I'm an experienced crypto investor, crypto trader, right? You know, when you ask me as Frankie Candles, it's like, I would say there's no world that exists where I would ever buy this high, but I'm just in a different situation, right? As my entry is much lower from down here. So, I mean, listen, if, you know, for Bitcoin, let's assume, right, the top does come in between 120 and 137K, right? So you have to think to yourself, like, and again, maybe it's not, right? Maybe we go higher. But, you know, if you're looking at your first major target at, say, 120K, right, that's a 10% pump to the upside, right, about. Right, 9.4% from basically where we are right now. 140K, right, or 137K would bring you up to about 25%. And then, like, even if you go to 150, right, it's a 36% rip. I know a lot of people get into crypto for like the face melting gains. I'll be honest. A lot of the face melting gains on Bitcoin, especially when you look at it from a non-log perspective, right? Like we have been in a massive bull market, right? Like the massive returns have happened. So I don't want to ever tell people they're late to Bitcoin. That would be a historically losing argument, right? Because even people who were late here wind up massively in profit. But you know, not a lot of people are willing to endure that big drop to the downside. So for me personally, if I could go back to when I first entered crypto and I had all the knowledge that I have right now, I personally, not that this is even the right thing to do, I probably personally would be more focused on the Bitcoin price action to indicate a potential alt season, right? Because just from a binary perspective, if you're looking at this chart, right, do you want to buy up here after you've had this monumental rip to the upside? In my opinion, no, right? But right now, you do have a lot of altcoins that have not gotten those big rips to the upside, right? Like even take like Chainlink, for example. Where we at? Bada boom, bada bing. Where's Chainlink? Am I blind? There we go. Right. Chainlink still kind of hovering down here, like, you know, pretty much, you know, not far off its bear market low, right? Like, you know, 135%, which obviously is a lot of percentage. But when it comes to an altcoin, you know, you have a lot of altcoins that are still sitting down here at lower prices. They have not gone on a monumental run yet. And even the first, you know, big run that we had, you've already gotten a major retracement there. So probably the way I would approach the charts, if I knew what I knew now, back in the day, right? I'd probably be like watching Bitcoin as the like the compass on what is going to happen with the alts, and I would just be more inclined to buy assets that have not already had a massive bull run, right? And obviously, a lot of the altcoins have not done that, right? You obviously have outliers, but for the most part, right? Like you have a lot of stuff sitting at the lows, right? So I would just be like naturally gravitated with what I know now to, get attracted to these lower assets, right? These assets have not gone on a massive bull run. You know, even if this doesn't revisit all-time highs, and I'm not just talking about AR alone, but like any of these other altcoins, if you don't think they're dead, right? Like you could even come up for a lower high and get 589%, which is obviously much more than riding Bitcoin from where we are now up to 137K. So, you know, I would just be generally inclined to tell people like, are you early to Bitcoin? This cycle, I would say no, right? Because my personal thesis is that we are probably closer to the top than a lot of people expect, right? But that does not mean that there is not going to be insane gains to be had in the altcoin market if we get those rate cuts and everything tracks and Bitcoin does put in a top, right? So you don't want to jump into Bitcoin super late here. And again, you have to do what you want to do, right? If you think it's a good time to buy, I'm not a financial advisor. I could be wrong, right? Bitcoin go to $1 million in 3 days for all I know, right? But hopefully, like, the logic shows there, right? Like, I would never buy an asset that's already ripped this much. So, yeah, that's kind of how I would handle that. Again, you have to follow your own plan. You have to make your own financial decisions. Again, I could be wrong. But that's kind of how I would approach things, right? Because if you have all these assets that are sitting at the lows still, you know, there's much more opportunity on those. And just with the nature of altcoins gaining percentage much faster and more aggressively than Bitcoin will because of the market caps, it's just much more opportunity there, in my opinion. So if I were looking to buy up here, like, I can't in good faith be like, yeah, this is a great place to buy. It doesn't mean I don't think it's going to go up, right? It's just not a great entry, right? Like even down here would have been a great entry. The here would have been a great entry. But after the big rip to the upside, was this a good place to buy? Probably not. On this big rip to the upside, was this a great place to buy? if you look at it long term, maybe, but we were much further away from the potential cycle top at this point, right? So like even if you bought this big green candle, you would have got a little ride to the upside. This would have been absolutely brutal to endure. So you know, I would say wait for a pullback, but you never know. This pullback might not come in. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't want to chew your ear off on that. But yeah, hopefully that helps you out, bro. But yeah, again, you got to make your own financial decisions. Thank you, Frankie. No problem. CG Beats. Only complete honesty here. But again, doesn't mean I don't think Bitcoin will go up. I just think the opportunity is going to be more in the altcoins at this point, right? So if I can go back to my old self with the knowledge that I have now, that's kind of how I would tell my old self to handle that situation, right? And could my old self take financial advice from my new self? Is that possible? But anyway, let's continue on here. Enter on fear and exit on FOMO. 100%. I would agree with that. Massive fear down here. Massive fear down here. And, you know, yeah. But anyway, I digress. But let's continue on here. I want to cover some of the local time frames here with you guys as we continue to wiggle around here. Now, number one, you want to keep a big eye on that trend line, right? Bada boom. Bada bing, right? We are starting to break out here. This does not mean that you can't fake out and get a rip back below that trend line, right? But again, with money flow and a lot of the things that we looked at, there is an opportunity to break out here on top of the fact that we are also living right now, currently, above the 786 Fibonacci retracement. This is that big key level that we want to close that weekly candle above. If we could close the weekly candle here, it doesn't guarantee the breakout, but it would be very, very nice to see the weekly candle closure above this 786, potentially invalidating the lower high, right? Because the lower high right now would have to come in, right? Or not, it doesn't, not that it has to, right? I never want to be like super, you know, again, you can see crazy things happen, but you know, if you're looking for a high, a low, and then this is the last place to really put in that macro lower high. Once we hold above there, especially with the weekly candle closure, it does increase the probability of that breakout being legit, right? And then again, you start looking at that with the fact that you've now broken over above your trend line. So, you know, pullbacks would be, you know, okay here, but, you know, that weekly candle closure above the 786 would be huge. Again, because of the specific context of the Fibonacci retracements. Same thing that we talked about yesterday and the day before, same thing is up here, right? We got above that. We're like, hey, let's close that weekly candle, but we didn't, right? That's why I say you have to be very careful, right? If we fake this out, not looking as good, especially if you fake it out on the weekly, which we did here, making the breakage structure of the downside much more likely, and that's what we got, right? You could feel super bullish here, be like, oh my God, we're about to close that weekly candle. If you dump really quickly below it and close that candle, it's like, okay, well, hey, we could be rejecting that golden pocket 786, which was a little bit different here. It was this golden pocket 786. You peak above, you close your weekly candle down below, and it's like, well, hey, that high, low, lower high is probably going to be confirmed there for a breakage structure to the downside. That's exactly what we saw. So it's the same thing here. If we close that weekly candle down below, could it be, you know, I wouldn't necessarily instantly be looking for the lower low. And I know this gets a little bit confusing, but the reason for that, and I'm going to show you guys, again, the more bearish, bullish scenario for a bigger pullback before another breakout, I wouldn't instantly be expecting a lower low, right? It does open the door for it to be a possibility to come break the low here at about $98,000, but it's not my first base case, because when we look at the price action back here in 2024, it's not just because it happened in 2024, it's just, you know, analyzing how price action moves historically and like fractally. I do think we're in a similar situation here, right, where we have a actually, let me hide this. I don't want to delete that. You know, you have the high, the low, the lower high, the lower low, the lower high, the lower low, and then you have another lower high. But it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the lower low, right? Because at some point, the trend's going to change, right? The trend's either going to continue or, you know, there's another side of the coin where you just put in a higher low and then change trends back to the upside, right? So if we get a bigger pullback, there is a situation that I can see happening like this if you get the bigger pullback, but it's not to come crack structure to the downside, even though when you're looking at the charts, you would say, well, hey, we have the golden pocket rejection. Yikes, that's a lower high. I'm looking for a lower low. Sure, it could be in the cards, but I am going to be very careful with the other things on the chart for a potential situation like this where we just come back for one more retracement to put in a higher low and then continue the trend to the upside. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm looking for in that kind of situation, right? So let me pull up the Bybit chart here real quick. So again, keep an eye on that trend line, right? Very, very, very key level. It's also becoming pretty confluent here, depending on how you draw it with the value area high. I'm going to get rid of this Fibonacci retracement just to clean the chart up. And I will take this one off as well just to clean the chart up. Again, I don't want to like have anybody sleep on the importance of that level. About 100, I would call it 109K even pretty much at that 786. Like holding above there would be super bullish, but you can play around with it, right? It's really you could come down here over the weekend, right? And then on Sunday, if we pop back up and close above it, that would still be very good for a breakout, in my opinion. Not guaranteed, right? But higher probability. Trading is all about probabilities. But if we look at this, right, trend line, you have the value area high, and I'll cover these local levels of support in a minute. But first, I want to cover the idea of, let's say, this is going to be a bigger rejection, and we do come down for a bigger retracement. If we see that same scenario that we saw in 2024 happen, what would I be looking at, right? Let me get this off the chart. What would I be looking at? Well, obviously, we can look at local support. You have the value area high right here. We also do have, I believe, a daily MPOC sitting in here as well. Bada boom. Yeah, so you do have a daily MPOC. This is the level that we looked at yesterday, right? So you have the value area high, daily MPOC, which is almost, right? If you were to bounce here, the reason I would say this is the key level, right? Because if you break out of this volume profile, come down to this daily MPOC value area high, you hold a support above here, you could put in another higher low for another break of structure to the upside, right? And this is very similar to what we saw happen here, right? Let me pull up the actual macro volume profile real quick right here, right? So we come back down, and what happens? Let me hide the local. Look at this. Value area high, daily MPOC, right? And we also had, obviously, key Fibonacci levels that you would look for a higher low on, right? 786 retracement. So this whole zone was the zone that we were looking at the time, especially in the premium Discord for the long position, right? But this was also value area high with a daily MPOC just underneath. You're saying, well, hey, if we can get out of this volume profile, you really want to hold this level. So it's very similar. You dip below it slightly, you bounce off the daily MPOC, you hold it as support, put in the higher high. Very similar situation to this right here. So again, doesn't mean you have to bounce just because it happened in the past, but definitely a level that I would be aware of. This sits between about 107.9, I mean, heck, call it 108K down to about 107.650, right? So that would be like hyper local zone number 1. But if we do, right, come on down here, we get accepted into this profile. Maybe if we came down, maybe this anchored VWAP would also come confluent with that, which would be beautiful because this was, again, the same exact situation that we saw before that I just brought up, right? You had the value area high, you had the daily MPOC, and if I pull up that other range, you can see that anchored VWAP was perfectly confluent there as well, right? So you have the same kind of, almost the exact same confluences there locally, right? So if we did see something like we come down to this value area high, you could look for that bounce, but if you get accepted into this range, right, this would increase the chances of coming back down towards the POC, losing the POC, and potentially coming down towards that value area low. This is the level that I will be looking for the higher low at, right? Very similar to the situation I looked at 2024, right? Again, you have the high, the low, the lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Oh my God, is the lower low going to come in? It could, but if you find some good support here on that golden pocket retracement, exactly where it came in right here, I'll just rough this out real quick, right on that golden pocket 786, right? This same level, in my opinion, would be sitting right down here at that value area low zone. Now, this fib has moved slightly. This is obviously a level that we have been looking at as we were inside of this range. In case we did lose the POC here, that would obviously be the next key level to look at. But if we were to do something like that, it would look very similar to that price action in 2024. Now, I would move this obviously up to the new high. It does raise that level up to about 100, starting at 103.8. All the levels underneath still remain the same, right? So this is a pretty large zone between about 103.891 and 101.532. We don't know if you're going to hold the support on the golden pocket or if you're going to have to go down to fill the range in full at the value area low 786 daily MPOC. But this could be that area. You have the high, the lower high, the lower low. And then if you get the lower high, sure, the doorway open to break structure and continue the downtrend is open and possible. But if you find support on this, right, that could be that same exact trend change, right, that we see in 2024. High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, and then you wiggle your way out of there, right? So this would be like the longer path to a breakout. If we don't get the aggressive breakout, this would be something to look for. This would not make me super, super bearish, right? This would make me say, well, hey, my long-term bias is a breakout, even if we came below this, right? I would still be thinking that we just have to wait a little bit longer for the breakout. I would not consider breaking this level the end of the bull market. Not that it's impossible, but I just wouldn't fall in that camp, just like I didn't fall in that camp at 75K. I would not personally be thinking that, right? So I'm going to be very careful. All eyes on this zone, guys. And again, there's multiple different levels in here that you can look at as separate levels or separate little pockets, but really this does sit between about 103.810 all the way down to the daily MPOC at 101.542. Once we lose that, that's where you're saying, well, hey, doesn't look and that's if you get the lower high here, right? If you get the lower high, you're thinking, okay, well, hey, we could bounce here and maybe scoot on out, right, and continue the bigger uptrend to higher prices. But if you start losing this, that's obviously you can't get back into the value area low. That's where you're looking for the break of structure of the upside, indicated by that lower high coming in. So I would say we're definitely in a potential situation to put that higher low in. If we lose it, that's where we look down to 97K. No, I would not think that's the bear market. I would just think, hey, turn off the lower range, right, the lower time frame range, pull up the macro volume profile. Maybe we do something a little bit more like this. But I do think if we were going to come down to that 97K level, it would have been a little higher probability to do it down here on that sweep of $100,000. So hopefully that makes sense. A little bit detailed in there, little local, little macro, all coming together. But that's my overall thoughts. Let me come into chat real quick. Bada boom, bada bing. Yeah, shout out to M Knives. I mean, I'll say right now, right? Like if you just look at this locally, right? Like you're in that resistance, right? You have the daily MPOC. Let me get rid of this all-time high. You have the daily MPOC. You have the 786, right? This was the same exact resistance level we looked at yesterday, right? Right now we live above it, but this was obviously our next little resistance level, right? So again, you know, you play around here intraday, right? But overall, if you close that weekly candle, if you look at this from a weekly time frame, it's like what you do not want to see is this candle coming down and closing below, right? Does it guarantee the dump? No, right? But obviously, if you can close that weekly candle above the 786, from a context standpoint, it would be very important, right? So yeah, we definitely have an opportunity, and I'm going to talk about the other signs on market cipher B, potentially looking for a correction. But right now, we're living above this resistance. If we wind up coming down here and losing this, you know, the lower high comes a little bit more likely, but it could still just be a short-term pullback before it's Sunday, right? We need Sunday's candle, weekly candle to close above this, right? So you still have room to come down, maybe bounce back up. I don't want people to think that's impossible. If you break down below this level, it's not like a 4-hour candle closure or like a 5-minute dump below this. That would worry me. It's really the weekly candle closure, right? Now, would a 4-hour candle close down here be good? No, it would probably lead towards a potential, like, it just makes it harder and harder to get back above there for the weekly. But I want to be clear. The big sign would be that weekly candle closure, just like it was back here. And it wound up really identifying that that lower low was going to come in. So this zone right here sits between about $109,500 and $109,000. So that's the resistance level. So yeah, I mean, aggressively, you stay above this. I mean, heck, like if we stay up here all weekend, right? We close the weekly candle up there. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's looking pretty crazy. But when we look at the higher time frames, right? Are there anything on market cipher B making us look for some kind of a bigger pullback here? I would say from a binary perspective, not from a money flow perspective, but more from a green or red dot perspective. Look at the 16-hour. VWAP starting to come to the downside here. We don't have the weekly, we don't have the 16-hour bear div, but that red dot could potentially give you a little ever flow to the downside. But remember, money flow is still fighting to stay in the green here, right? So money flow indicates the overall trend, right? As we always say. So if you do get a pullback, those red dots could indicate a loss of that level, whether it's temporary or to put in the lower high for the lower low, or I don't want to say lower low, but you know, the lower high for a potential bigger dump. This red dot on the 16-hour could be something to look at, right? You know, 16-hour red dots, even if it's not confluent with the 1-hour money flow, it was here. We got the push down, right? But money flow is in the green. You would look for higher lows and higher highs. But any 16-hour red dot that you look at, right, I'll try to find one that didn't play out, like, super aggressively. Like, this one wasn't a huge move, right? But you get a red dot. Like, typically, 16-hour red dots will give you some kind of move to the downside. 16-hour red dot, move to the downside. This one was a little bit muted as well. Not really. Nice little 6% dump to the downside. Here's a 16-hour red dot. You know, again, not super impressive as far as a move to the downside, but you did get a little bit of a continuation down, right? So that 16-hour red dot would be something to look for. Then when we start coming to the 12-hour red dot, potentially looking to print. 10-hour VWAP coming to the zero line as well. But again, notice the money flow. If I were looking for a massive, big, long-term continuation to the downside, right, you know, potentially targeting much lower prices, you would want to see this money flow tanking to the downside, right? Take a look at the 8-hour. 8-hour money flow also in the green, but your VWAP is coming down. And when you're looking at market cipher B, guys, that VWAP crossing over, again, money flow indicates the overall trend, but when that 8-hour red dot prints, that might be where you get that next little ever flow to the downside. But as long as this money flow stays in the green, that is where you're looking for a higher low and a higher high. So the red dots can indicate moves down, but not necessarily a massive trend if money flow is coming up. Does that make sense? So just locally here, you know, again, we also, more local than that, have a 4-hour red dot potentially incoming here. So if this 4-hour red dot prints, you know, that could start the bigger correction. And by bigger, I mean just like losing this key level of resistance, or which is now support because we're above it. But that 4-hour red dot could give us a little pullback as well. That could start the move. Got hair tickling my eye right now. But that's what I'd be looking at, right? And then you can also pair that red dot with a 15-minute money flow crossover. If we do have this money flow continue to the downside, it could indicate the continuation down. But again, money flow is going to be king there, right? Money flow is still in the green here. If you get the red dot and that money flow stays in the green, could be a higher low and a higher high. Remember the key levels that we just looked at, right? And then you just get a little red dot, and then that next green dot continues money flow into a bigger green wave. If we see money flow tanking out here as we approach support, well, that would change the decision that you make down here at the support levels. You might say to yourself, well, hey, maybe we get a bounce, but now money flow looks like garbage. So, you can only look for the information as you're at the level, right? Depends on what if money flow looks like garbage down here on the 4 hour, you would decide, make one decision, right? If money flow looks like it's just getting a little ebb or flow to continue up, then you would make a different decision, right? So yeah, not impossible to get a little pullback here. 4 hour red dot. Also had a, you do have some bearish divergences here on like the 90 minute, right? So you have price creeping up, lower highs on your momentum waves, right? This is a clear divergence, and again, could cause the pull to the downside, right? But remember, the longer-term money flow would indicate the continuation to the upside. So always remember that. I know it's sometimes difficult to understand, but I think the easiest way to learn this is to get in the gym and do push-ups, right? Because the bigger your pecs, the more accurate your TA is going to be. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, hit the gym from a trading perspective and get into bar replay mode. Go down to a random bar and watch how money flow plays out. You don't even have to go into bar replay mode. Just like go back in history, right? Here's the daily money flow crossover into the green. Massive continuation to the upside. Oh, but we got a pullback, right? Actually, this is a bad example because money flow is coming out, right? But you got a little pullback here, right? But money flow is still thick in the green. This might have been maybe a 4 hour red dot. I don't really want to spend a ton of time looking at this, but maybe you had a 4 hour red dot or maybe a 16 hour red dot or something up here indicating that you might be able to get a little bit of a cool off. So yeah, you had a 4 hour red dot. I'll actually pull up the 16 hour. This would be lit if there's a 16 hour red dot there because it would line up with exactly what we were looking at. There you go. Beautiful. 16 hour red dot. You get a pullback, but what does it end in? A higher low, and higher highs to come, right? That's what you're that's what you're looking at for money flow, right? The 16 hour red dot could be a pullback, right? And this feels aggressive, but when you have the higher time frame money flow coming out, the overall perspective is to continue to the upside. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me jump in here. I saw a couple super chats coming in. I don't want to miss these. Let's see. Shout out to Zach. Thank you for the super chat. Said, now on a serious note, I will pay you $1 million for that crystal ball. Shout out to Zach. We don't even have a crystal ball. We don't have a crystal ball. Don't investigate that, please. Just take my word for it. We don't have a crystal ball. I'm just saying. But anyway, shout out to Zach. Let's go. Crystal balls to be in the merch store very soon, guys. And thank you, Zach, again with the super chat, bro. I appreciate you so much, man. He says, I know there's a gazillion of streamers/traders, but you have a real gift in trading, and thank you for sharing it for free on YouTube. Shout out to Zach. Bro, thank you so much. I love that. This is my goal, to provide as much free value as possible. Sure, we have the paid Discord. Sure, we have other things that we have that are paid. But this is my main goal always here is to give away as much free value because I think there should be a really good free resource for people to learn how to do TA and how to trade without laying money up front because it's a long process to be a profitable trader. It's not just like watch a YouTuber, it's going up, it's going down, I'm going to put all my money on that trade, right? I wish it was that easy. But this is chats like this, bro. This is why I come up here and do this every single day because it shows that we're actually helping people. So shout out to Zach. I appreciate you so much, bro. Thank you for the kind words and the super chats. And we got George with a super chat they said buy Bitcoin and chill. Nobody mentioned the anxiety attacks. Shout out to George. Yeah, bro. And listen, guys, I'm not immune to the emotions either, right? Like I always say this too back here when we were saying it could be a higher low for a higher high. Everyone being bearish down here, guys, like I feel that, right? I'm like, man, everyone's bearish. Am I missing something? And that's why I always approach trading with an agnostic attitude, right? You have to remove your ego, right? Because if someone might point out, sometimes people point stuff out in chat, and I'm like, I actually didn't see that. This does change my analysis just a little bit, right? So, even when it comes from, you can't have, a God complex in trading, even if you're on a massive winning streak. You have to be very agnostic because anything can happen. And that's why when someone disagrees with something I say, or even when people are super bearish down here, I'm not just saying, I'm Frankie Candles. If you're bearish, you're wrong. I always take it into account. And I'm like, okay, well, they're saying that this, and this is bearish. But then I look at it and I say, okay, well, that is a little bit bearish. But based off these other things, I think it's going to be a higher low and a higher high. And you have to make those own decisions. So, yeah, shout out to George. Yeah, no one mentioned the anxiety attacks. Try going on YouTube and saying what you think Bitcoin's going to do every day. That's a whole other level of anxiety attacks. I'm just kidding. But it is, an added layer of stress. I'm not going to lie. Let's see. Shout out to Gen Z. Said, Frankie, you're looking for a pullback at the upper value area low, but the main volume profile value area high is between that pullback. Isn't the long kind of risky at the value area high? Yeah. So when you look at this, Gen Z, I would say Let me pull back up the value area high. Bada boom. Yes, I would say, anytime, right? Like at the end of the day, right? The full pullback, right? If we get the full pullback into the golden pocket down here, this would be like any deeper pullback would be a little bit, anytime it's at like a full golden pocket 786 or that makes it a little bit better in my opinion. I would say this is like the aggressive entry, right? So any bounce here that we got, I assume this is the value area high you're talking about. Yes, I would say this is definitely a little bit more risky, right? Because at the end of the day, from a context standpoint, it's like, well, hey, you're above the value area. If you get back in here, it's definitely risky, right? Because you're hoping, but the thing here is there's a clear invalidation, right? If you come here, right, and you get the bounce, it's like, okay, well, cool. If you get an entry down here, your stop loss would pretty much be below that. For me personally, would be like just below that daily MPOC. Depending on the entry signal, like the actual dollar amount would be where that stop loss would change, right? Let's say, come on down to a lower time frame. I mean, let's say. Yeah, there's no real SFP I would look for there unless you swing this low. But yeah, like if you come on down here, right, you're hoping for a bounce, but you got to be careful with that for sure, right? Because if you come down here and get accepted in, it's probably going to be more likely that you at least come down to the POC, which is confluent. Maybe this is what you're talking about as well, which is confluent with that macro value area high. So yeah, I would say that is a little bit more risky. But I wouldn't even say necessarily in terms of a trade, but maybe just a bounce, right? If you come on down here and you have the, say, 4-hour red dot prints, you get the bigger push to the downside, money flow starts coming out, there will be signs down here that would indicate if it's going to be a strong bounce or a lackluster bounce. But definitely a support level to be aware of, because if we are just going to kind of keep aggressively pushing to the upside, it could go both ways, right? You could look for a bounce here and then you don't get it and you continue to the downside, or you could just simply wait for the lower levels, but then you're at risk of potentially putting in an aggressive bounce and just sending it to the upside, right? Recently, shout out to Gen Z, I know you're in the premium, so you actually remember this, right? The SFP down here that we were looking at, I was waiting to hit a key level, right? And it happened like, was it this? This was the... Yeah, so when we look to come sweep this wick down here, right, you get the SFP, which is the entry confirmation, right? And you actually got it on the higher time frame. I think it was a 4-hour SFP, right? So you're looking at this, you're like, all right, we got the SFP. This is a risky entry, right? Why? Because you didn't come down to that last key level of support, which I believe it's not on the chart anymore, but I believe it was about it was the 100. Actually, it is on the chart. It was the $100,000 zone. Right? We front ran that very big key level by just a little bit, right? So you're always going to have to take that risk. It's like if you take the early entry, you risk being a little bit early. But if you wait for the later entry, you're going to risk front running the level. Front running the level, right, and then just missing your entry, which was actually the situation I was in that exact trade. So yes, I wouldn't say ignore this support level, but I would also say it's like, hey, if you take it here, you got to be careful, right? And that's what risk management is for, right? You stop out for a loss, and then you look down to the next level. But if you don't look at this level and you're waiting for it down here, you do risk, potentially missing out on the trade. So yeah, that's kind of how I would explain that. I would say, as far as the stronger level at that point, daily MPOC, you have the daily MPOC, the value area high. Down here, you have the POC macro value area high. Same thing here, right? It's like, hey, you could take that early entry off the point of control, right? And then you open yourself up to catching the early trade. But if you lose it, right, this is really the sauciest level. I can't guarantee this is going to get visited, but this is the level I would be the most interested in. If we were lucky enough to get this big pullback, that would be the level I'm most interested in. Not the level that's guaranteed to bounce, but this would be a very nice retracement and then send it back up, right? So yeah, definitely a little bit riskier. The earlier the entry, right, a little bit more risky it would be. And again, more often than not, the better long positions are going to be at the value area low or below. And here, longing the retest of the value area low gets a little bit difficult because it's like, traditionally you're looking for acceptance into the range, back to the POC, back to the low. But when you look at the context and some of the other macro things that we have going on here, I wouldn't say it's impossible to hold an aggressive higher low there. So yeah, I would, simple answer, yes, it would be a little bit risky there for pretty much the exact reasons that you explained, 100%. So hopefully that helps you out. Oh, you're talking about the upper range. Oh yeah, let me bring this up as well. Just some extra local levels, guys. If we pull up this old range that we looked at back in the day when we were consolidating up here, get back into the range, back to the POC, back to the high, rejection, back to the POC, back to the low, rejection from the POC. Now we've not pretty much, but we filled this range in full, right? So let me pull up the... Yeah, that's the thing too, right? You could also look at this as somewhat of an entire zone. You don't want to look at too much stuff. Like, in my opinion, right, if we start pulling up too many ranges here, it just gets a little bit sticky, right? It gets a little bit complicated on what you should be looking at, and that's kind of where the Fibonacci retracements come in handy. I would say the full Fibonacci retracement, if you're going to start coming down here, right, it would make a lot of sense to at least come down to the golden pocket, right? And you don't really have a lot of local fibs that you can look at in here. So I would simply be looking at both of those levels. It's very hard to say which one is, at that point, it's like, hey, if you don't hold this value area high, right, then you would pull up the upper range and say, well, hey, we lost the value area high. We're not holding it. And it could be a situation where you come on down in here, right, and you wick in there and then send it to the upside. It's going to be impossible to say what that price action is going to look like exactly. But if you start losing that daily MPOC, the next level to look at in general is going to be that value area low of the upper range, right? And then once you lose this, it's like, all right, well, hey, maybe we go back down towards that range's value area low, right, which would be the bigger level. So you have a lot of stuff to look at here. It's very hard to say because, if you're going to get an aggressive breakout, you would sometimes bounce off levels that wouldn't be looked at as the strongest, right? Like price doesn't need that much support. It's just kind of like, all right, let me just tap this and continue up. So it would definitely be a difficult situation, right? Especially right now. To be quite honest, it's like, could you bounce here? Yes. I can't say you can't bounce here. Is it higher? Would I like a long position from lower? Yes. Would I prefer to come down to that value area low? I would say that's the higher probability trade for sure. Or I wouldn't even say trade, but just like the higher probability bounce would be to go for that 786. So yeah, it's like, you come down to the POC, you have the daily MPOC, which is also close to the value area low golden pocket. So it's kind of like a big zone. But yeah, it would have to be like as you approach the level, you might come on down to that value area high and realize that there is nothing to look at, right? It's like, all right, I don't even see any reason to get a bounce here. Or you might just melt right through it, right? So it really depends on the reaction you get at the level. So hopefully that helps you out. Shout out to Gen Z. I wish there was like something like I wish we had some kind of like beautiful SFP or like some other confluence that made this a super saucy level. I would say if this anchored VWAP can move up to about $108,000, that would be a nice level of confluence. So yeah, it's going to depend on what price action looks like when you get in there. Let's see. Bada boom, bada bing. Let's see. Yo, shout out to George. Says, at this point, my investing strategy is just emotional damage management. Shout out to George. I know there's a lot of people in that position. I know there is a ton of people in that position. Let's see. Positive money flow, bearish divergences with price higher highs and momentum lower highs. Shout out to Matan. If you can give me a time frame, I will look at that for you for sure. Zach, shout out to Zach. Thank you for the super chat. Zach's going nuts with the super chats today. Says, not financial advice. New all-time high. New all-time high till Sunday, probably the 4th of July stock market close. No manipulation. Trump's bill is ready for him to sign it. Yeah. Shout out to Zach. Yeah, and don't forget, guys, obviously tomorrow during the holiday, we could get just like, it's going to be wonky volume. You could get some like crazy, weird price action. So just remember that as well. I probably won't be trading tomorrow, if I'm being totally honest. Let's see. All right, so let's continue on here and take a look at some of the altcoins. That's pretty much my full thoughts on Bitcoin, guys. Locally, we can watch this upper range, right? Again, you have to eventually pick something that you want to look at. For me personally, I'll be looking at this range, right? If we already deviated above the high, can't get back out of here. POC would be next. Lose the POC, come down, understand that daily MPOC is there. Again, confluent with the previous value area high, that little zone right there. But overall, I would say this is a nice local profile to look at. Value area high at 110,100. POC sitting at about 108,914. Value area low sitting at 107,162. And then that's confluent with your golden pocket, and your 786 is sitting down at 106.3. So those are like the local levels I would be looking at. And again, you pull up this other volume profile, that level's kind of incorporated in there as well. And then once you start losing that, right, I would just look at the bigger profile and say, well, hey, right, there's your upper range. You start losing the 786. Well, the POC is right underneath you, and maybe you can make it to that value area low. So main ranges, just to simplify. Value area high, 110.1. POC sitting at 108.9. Value area low, sitting at 107,178, right? Don't forget the 786 golden pocket retracement, bringing you down to about 106.3. Lose that, you just simply pull up the bigger profile, right? And it's like, well, hey, we're already at the POC. Maybe we can get the full fill of that range, right? And then this is always going to be, until we break out, right? This is the biggest level of support, in my opinion, still, right? Lose this range. That's where the 97K level comes back into play. So there you go. Let's see. Shout out to CDE Solutions. Says Frankie, are you still doing the premium live stream tomorrow? Probably. I'll probably do some kind of a live. It might be a little shorter. I'll do some kind of a premium live stream tomorrow. If price action goes crazy, we'll probably just wind up on the live stream for a normal time. But yeah, I will have some stuff to do during the day. At the very least, I'll obviously drop an update if there's something to update, right? If price is just still going sideways, there's probably nothing to update. If we do get some kind of movement, I'll drop an update in the Discord, and then I will try my best to do some kind of a live stream. If not, we'll just make it up next week. I'll do we'll do like Monday, Tuesday, and then Friday. So we'll have 3 live streams next week. All right, so let's continue on. We'll take a quick look at Ethereum. Pull it up on the alt list, or the alt template, I should say. And, yeah, we're just still kind of bing-bonging around up here in our target that we looked at. So I would still say, same thing on Ethereum. We do have a little bit of a 10-hour bearish divergence, potentially looking to print. But, again, I mean, look at that money flow. Money flow coming up. This money flow stays in the green. That red dot, may be more likely to put in a higher low and then eventually target to fulfill that range into the value area high 786. So, I mean, to be honest, not really anything to update here, other than like market cipher potentially. Yeah, red dot didn't really give you that much of a pullback. Money flow still in the green. I would say from a money flow perspective, it's still 12-hour money flow in the green, 16-hour money flow in the green. Daily is starting to get a little kick back to the upside, generally trending down, but getting a little kick there. 2-day money flow in the green. I mean, this is typically these 2-day money flow crossovers, unless we're just going to go down and like everything's going to be brutal still, and we're going to put in lower lows on everything. It's like this 2-day money flow crossover is typically a very good sign for the altcoins. I say this every single stream. 2-day money flow crossover. 2-day money flow crossover. Well, actually, this is actually back a slight bit. 2-day money flow crossover. Little fake out. Still have the 2-day money flow crossover with your monthly Heikinashi green dot printing. So long term, again, doesn't mean you can't pull back, but I would still just be looking at this local range as of right now for Ethereum until it winds up breaking out to the upside or breaking down to lower prices, right? You flip the value area low, POC is your next target. That's where we sit right now. We looked at this forever. Flip that POC, looking to go to the value area high 786. Once you flip that 786, this is a huge key level to watch on Ethereum, because if you can hold support above 2716, it invalidates the idea of that rejection and could point up towards the next macro target, sitting at about 3,000 to 3,150. Simply put, if you get, I'll cover a little bit of like the lower support levels, still sitting here at the point of control golden pocket. This is your full Fibonacci retracement. So if you do come on down and lose this golden pocket, value area low, you will be looking down towards that point of control golden pocket zone. Lose the golden pocket 786. Once you lose that 786, much more likely to break the low. So there you go. And yeah, other than that, not too much to update on Ethereum. Just watching this local range. Shout out to Gen Z, says ETH will pump your bags. # king. Let's go. Shout out to Gen Z. I never gave up on Ethereum. Thank God. Hopefully it still winds up being a good thing. But yeah, it's just, as I've said many a times, it's like, it's so unlikely in my opinion that unless there's no alt season, right? If we see alt season, Ethereum is probably gonna play out like all the other cycles, right? Ethereum's gonna be the first mover, or gonna kind of lead the way. And it would just be crazy for Ethereum not to make a new all-time high in a bull market, separate from having no alt season, right? If there was no alt season, then maybe you don't see it. But like if there's an alt season, Ethereum not making an all-time high would be a super, super low probability situation, in my own personal opinion. All right, let's see. Shout out to Dave Digital, said like number 294 is Dave. Run it up to 550, guys. What do we have to give away? We got to get some likes in here. Smash that like button if you appreciate the free content. Let's see. Shout out to My Passive Freedom, said no alt season. Wrap it up. I hope that's not the case. Let's see. Yeah, thank God, hopefully. Shout out to Inner Circle. All right, let's continue on here. So we took a look at Ethereum, take a quick look at Solana, still in the same place as yesterday. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the altcoins today, guys, just because just kind of chopping around, right? I don't want to sit here and just say the same stuff that we say every single day until we get a significant movement here. But obviously, we rejected the golden pocket. We looked at on, I guess, either Monday, probably on Monday is when we put that high in. So, yeah, so Monday, looking at the golden pocket POC 786 zone as the area to get the bounce from. We started getting the bounce here. we'll see if we can continue up through the profile. The overall continuation of this profile would be from the low to the POC. If you could hold on top of that point of control, you would look for that fill into the 786 value area high, right? If you lose the point of control, that would be kind of, again, you could stick to these point of controls, right? You could kind of deviate below them, get back above them. They do act as a magnet as they are the area where the highest volume was transacted, as shown by the massive high volume node, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, like even if you look at like previous rotations, it's like, well, hey, you got above the low, flipped it to support, flipped the POC. Oh, we're going to the high. Oh, no, never mind. We're back below the POC, and you kind of cling to that POC, but eventually you do get that overall fulfill of the profile. So, I would be aware of like some kind of like effery that might go on here. So I wouldn't say like losing that 786 is like the line in the sand for like another massive dump. You just might be able to play around with this. Hopefully, ideally you could hold this zone, right? But if you lose it, it's not like it's a big line in the sand or anything because you're still within your profile. You might kind of bing bong around like I just showed you in the previous price action. And then eventually, the rotations from the value area high to the POC and then down to the low are oftentimes very confusing. Oh my God, breakout. Never mind, fulfill the range. Get back in, POC, flip the POC up to the value area high. They're not all that clean, right? Sometimes they are. So just be aware of that, right? So point of control, this zone here, I'll give you the numbers. Sitting right here between 141.91 and 145.89. That would be a big key level to hold locally, right? If you lose it, though, it's not a huge line in the sand. We're just looking at the volume profile in total, right? It wouldn't be until at this point, honestly, I mean, if I pull this full retracement, yeah, I don't even know. I would probably just be looking at the value area low at that point. It's like, hey, if you can't just cling to the POC, you could potentially even get really close to the value area low and then still come back up, right? Again, very similar to what we just showed previously, right? Like even here, yeah, you break above, flip the POC all the way back down, and then you do wind up filling the range. So it can be ugly, so be aware of that. But I would say locally, you could, this would be a big level to hold. And then we lose that, doorway to the value area high is potentially open, but, again, still overall you would expect to fill that profile. So, yeah, you could also look at the full golden pocket retracement. But, again, the reason I wouldn't really look at this is only because if you did get the correction down there, is it possible to bounce? Absolutely, right? Not impossible. But it's like at that point, yeah, I'll put these on the chart as well. This isn't a bad place to look. I would say the 786 here at about 133 is between 133.22 and 138.88. That's your full golden pocket 786 retracement pulled from the low all the way to the high here. So, you could see a situation. If you lose this, the only thing losing the 786 would make me anticipate is a potential pullback to this golden pocket retracement, right? And then once you lose that, it's like, well, hey, you're already still in your range. So that's kind of why I just simplify things and look at the range. I don't really care about the chop that goes on there, as long as we don't lose the value area low. So next target, technically, value area high to the upside. Let's see. Yo, shout out to, I don't know what that super chat was, but Dave Digital says, he gone. I assume it was probably a meme coin shill. Crazy. We saw the meme coin shills started coming back in yesterday, guys. Like Bitcoin gets a little bit of a move, and here come the meme coin shills. Crazy. Let's see. Yo, Inner Circle Gangster says, it's like the old guy with the dollar on the fish and the reel. Almost gotcha. Almost. Shout out to ICG, as we like to call him. Yo, shout out to the mods, guys. Shout out to the mods. The mods are in full effect right now. Let's go. Whatever happened to OP? Is it dead? We can take a look at that. Actually, I think I have an OP chart open here somewhere. There it is. We haven't taken a look at OP in quite some time. And I'm gonna say this right now. My sentiment probably doesn't change. It's probably still the same thing, just waiting for the move. So yeah, on OP, you have your major volume profile sitting up here between about $1.06 and $2.63. I would still pretty much keep this same exact thought process. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. I would probably just move it down a little bit, right? But yeah, I mean, at this point, your guide and your expectation of higher prices will be exactly the same. If we look here on Market Cypher B, we'll pull up the weekly. Weekly bull div potentially looking to confirm here. We're on Heikinashi candles. Pull it up on the regular candles. So you do have a regular candle, weekly bull div forming, right? Higher lows, lower lows, right? It's a weekly bull div. It doesn't guarantee that you have to get a massive rip to the upside, but if you're going to get some kind of a continuation up, like this weekly bull div is like, there's not much more you could really ask for. And again, there's nothing magical about this that means that like it can't break back down. But I would say, like, listen, if you can get that weekly bull div to confirm, I think I might have said bear div before. Obviously, this is a bull div. And for anybody new who does not know what I'm talking about with bearish divergences or bullish divergences, simply all this is a discrepancy between price and your momentum, right? Divergence, right? They're going in opposite directions. You have price coming down, but momentum coming up. This indicates, and to remember this very easily, you would say when you're drawing your lower lows and your higher lows, when these lines are coming together, right, and would eventually, if you drew them out, would eventually intersect, right, at some point, it creates that kind of pinch point, right? That is a bullish divergence, right? This indicates that you might be able to get a reversal to the upside, and more often than not, like, you'll get at least some kind of a move, right? Doesn't necessarily mean every weekly bull div has to be the bottom forever, although weekly bull div is, the highest that I really look at other than the monthly, but we don't have enough information here on the monthly. You have a monthly green dot incoming, weekly bullish divergence. If we take a look at some of the lower time frame money flow, like the 2-day, lower time frame in comparison to the weekly, you do have the money flow attempting to work its way up here. You're still pretty deep in the red, to be quite honest. But if you can get this 2-day money flow to continue up, I mean, that weekly bull div, if it gives you any kind of a significant bounce, I would just draw the same lines that we had on here since the last time we looked at it, which is probably, I would assume, somewhere back here, right? Like, if you get that big continuation up, like the real big level to look at, you would want to break these highs right here. This might be a situation where you'd rather be late than early, right? Because if you get in early here, it's like you haven't really flipped any, you haven't broken any like major market structure or anything like that, so you could kind of get like another continuation down for a third drive or something. But I would say like breaking these highs here would be the first kind of sign of strength, in my opinion, right? Cracking these highs right here at about 82 cents. Right? Come up there, start breaking above there. Then you're approaching the value area low. Once you get accepted into this range, that might be able to start the bigger move up. I wouldn't expect it to be a straight line like that. But, as you work your way up there, you're probably looking down at the 2-day money flow. You're saying, okay, the weekly bull div's giving us a bounce. We're starting to break the highs here. If we have that 2-day money flow crossing over into the green, or at least getting close, you could say, well, hey, at this point, I can look for a continuation of that overall trend for higher lows and higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. And then you can use this volume profile as your guide on where price will very likely go next. If OP is going to put in a new volume profile, a new all-time high, or at least not go to zero, right? Let's assume we knew somehow that we were going to break this high at $5, right? I could tell you this. The roadmap to what levels are going to be respected on the way up are almost, I don't want to say guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed, but very likely you're going to get some kind of interaction on this value area low. Once you flip it to support, the next target is going to be the point of control. Like, so likely, so high probability. And then once you flip that POC, you're looking up to the value area high. These are the levels to look at as long as you can get that move to the upside. This is the volume profile to look to fill, right? And those are the key levels to watch, in my own personal opinion, right? And probably a lot of other volume profile traders' opinions, right? Not just my opinion. But, yeah, that's what I would look at. You're just kind of still hanging out down here. This thing's absolutely crushed. Weekly bull div is like, you can't ask for a better signal on the weekly. It's not like, guaranteed to move up, but, I can't say that's bearish, right? Money flow still looks kind of bearish, but, it's going to take a long time to curve up. Even if it does, right? It's going to take a long time for that to curve up. It's going to take many, many days, probably multiple weeks, right? So, yeah, that's what I would look for. Very clear levels. Value area low at $1.06, POC at $1.71, and then 263 at the value area high. That would be like long-term analysis on OP. And honestly, if you come and break this low, might head into price discovery, right? If it winds up flipping out bearish, it's very hard to tell exactly how low you would go. Only thing I can look at is like Fibonacci extension levels, but I would say the line in the sand here for me would be the golden pocket retracement. If you wind up losing, I would say about 49 cents, very likely that you're going to put in the new low, and where that low would come in at is very hard to predict because there's not a lot of price action to look at down here. Let me actually see something. Let me pull up the Frankie Candles Essentials real quick. I think I'm clicking. Am I clicking this too fast? I think I click I click it too fast, and sometimes it doesn't work. So let me just pull this because this automatically extends it to the right. Yeah, and you could just see, right, like this volume profile all the way from back in 2022 winds up getting respected. You bounce off the value area high, you bounce off the value area high, you get, even from like a local standpoint, you break down bearish retest on that value area high all the way to the value area low. I could assume that the POC is probably sitting somewhere around 55 cents maybe, 52 cents. So I'll just draw that POC in there real quick. But you can just see how that is respected. Yeah, and then you deviate below the low, flip the POC up to the value area high. So you can look at this as potentially a local range if you want to look for like hyper-local levels on OP, but I assume the question of is OP dead is more of a macro question. So yeah, I would say, this is definitely respected. So I would look at this value area high at 60 cents, POC at about 52 cents, and then your value area low about 49 cents, which again is going to be confluent with that 786 I just mentioned, right? So you break down out of here and can't get back in. Could be very bad, right? Because you're basically entering price discovery to the downside. So there you go. That's what I would look at on OP. Yeah, shout out to Satoshi Glakamoto, said the big beautiful bill passed and signed into law tomorrow, July 4th. China-U.S. trade deal tariff deadline is less than a week. Rate cuts incoming Q3. Everything is lining up. And shout out to Satoshi Glakamoto. That is my general thought process long term. This is why I say I do think the breakout on Bitcoin is very likely to come at some point very soon, even if you have to get bigger retracements, right? Everything's kind of lining up, right? And again, you look at the stock market, you look at Coinbase stock, as we've covered many a times recently over the past couple of weeks. Everything seems to be just coming together perfectly for what everybody is hoping for, which will be the eventual blow off top for Bitcoin and alt season to come. Alt season incoming! No, I'm just kidding. Maybe. Just not. Oh my God, everybody buy altcoins, 100%, right? Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance real quick, actually. Because I actually was going to cover this before and I absolutely forgot. So let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. So yeah, just remember, right? We also have Bitcoin dominance approaching a very key level of resistance, right? If Bitcoin gets another pop to the upside, right, are we going to push into that 786? This is the next big opportunity to look for a big rejection on Bitcoin dominance. It would make a lot of sense if all these things actually do line up, right, to say, whether we actually have to physically come up and tap that level or, getting close, front running it is going to be the rejection that we get. But it would make a lot of sense, right? Like come in here, reject that 786, and then eventually we're already expecting the rate cuts to accelerate the altcoin market. You start to get the breakdown on dominance. Bitcoin puts in a new all-time high, starts to form some kind of a top, massive drop down on Bitcoin dominance. That gives the alts room to run. And then I don't want to say it. Typically at that point, guys, it's like I said this yesterday. It's like the final. It's like not the final boss, the finale of like a fireworks show, right? It's like the most exciting part, but it's like right after that, it's over, right? So very exciting times potentially ahead soon, but just don't lose sight of the longer term kind of plan there, right? You don't want to wind up getting caught up in that excitement and just starting to be bullish when everything is starting to top out. But obviously the alts have a lot of room to move. Yeah, shout out to, what does that say? Oh, Fractal. Shout out to Fractal. It says dominance could go down this weekend starting tomorrow. It definitely. Let's take a look at this actually from a market cipher perspective as well, right? We had the key level, which we just front ran. Daily money flow is continuing to cook to the downside here a little bit. Maybe you chop around a little bit. Very hard to say that it's just going to come down in a straight line. But yeah, technically, let's just try to piece together some stuff here. Money flow coming to the downside on the daily. Let's check the weekly potential red dot incoming, which would also be a bearish divergence. Could try to compare this previously. There was no weekly bear div in the past. But yeah, whether you come up and tap this or not or play around with it or not, I would say, money flow kind of coming up on the 2-day, but that 2-day red dot could see it come down. I don't know if that's instantly going to trigger full-blown alt season. Maybe see the alts rally a little bit. But yeah, we're there, right? Like this is the level. We've been talking about this level ever since before we reached the golden pocket. This is the 786 of this same golden pocket pull. So as we were kind of working our way up here, right, we looked at this golden pocket as the first key level of resistance, got pretty good rallies on the altcoins at first, right, but not the explosion all-time highs that everyone was looking for, right? We got back into the range. This is that 786 retracement. So we are approaching that level that we've been looking at for, I don't remember exactly when we started looking at it, right, but that 786 has been here ever since the low came in. So we're here. right? Like this lines up with everything that we're seeing happen being a potential top for dominance. Definitely lines up. Definitely lines up. Let's see. Push-ups are bullish. Shout out to Eddie. Let's go. Do your push-ups, people. With how much people think rate cuts will pump, I will bet pull back at least for a week or two. Shout out to Inner Circle Gangster. Yeah, that's another thing too. It's right. You might get, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say, right? Because you could think of it as the rate cuts potentially get priced in a little bit on the anticipation of them, and then you get a little bit of a sell the news event, but then eventually it does cycle back in and give you the effect that everyone is looking for. So those rate cut announcement, right? Like if you find yourself in a situation where you get the rate cuts and you're like, why are we dumping? It might just be something like that, right? It's not always necessarily an instant reaction, right? We actually talked about this a lot back, like way back. Let's see. Alt season, come on. Shout out to Megan. Let's go. Everybody pray to the crypto gods tonight. All right, let's see. Shout out to Dave Digital. Said if CoffeeZilla has an episode on you or your coin, I am not buying it. Shout out to Dave Digital. Yeah, I will never promote a meme coin. And I definitely would never have my own meme coin. It's like a big thing to say never, because it's like, what if in like 5 years, I want to? It's, it's just never ends good, right? Like, very rarely do you have a creator make a meme coin and it goes well, right? Yeah, just not my thing. Let's see. Personally, shout out to Zane said, I'm personally not a fan of meme coins, and if I'm going to gamble, I might as well put into mantra. Shout out to Zane. Yeah. I would say, listen, there's tons of money to make in altcoins, but this is the thing, right? In crypto, one of the big things that you want to try to avoid is the shiny object syndrome, right? For me personally, my edge to make money in crypto is the charts, right? Trading and just charts in general. So, you can make a lot of money in meme coins, right? Life-changing money. Some people make life-changing money. 99% of people are gambling, and 1% of them get lucky. And if you're like an experienced like Solana trench trader, right, this is something that you have to dedicate a lot of time to, right? You have to become obsessed with the Solana trenches, right? And this takes a lot of time, and it's still very risky, right? But you have to spend a lot of time on it. You have to focus all your energy on it. And if you try to chase like a little bit of everything, you kind of get like lackluster returns, right? It's really when you focus on one thing and master it. Not that one thing is better than the other. It's just like for me, if I wanted to make a bunch of money in meme coins, I would have to change everything I do every day, right? I would have to be in the trenches every day, not on TradingView, right? Not that it wouldn't involve looking at charts, but on meme coins, I'm probably not looking at a bullish divergence on the 4-hour to indicate a massive pump, right? It has a lot more to do with other stuff. Watching whale wallets, all that good stuff, sniping. It's not my thing, right? So again, it's not to say you can't make money on it, but a lot of people, unless you're in those trenches every day and obsessing over it every single day, it is very, very risky in my opinion. Not that I don't buy meme coins, but I just look at them as gambles, right? Let's see. Shout out to Silent HQ. Said, come on down into the trenches, Frankie. Let's go. Shout out to Silent HQ. What indicators do you use? Shout out to Nelson. This is, I use a bunch of indicators, but on the chart right now, this is a fixed range volume profile. I would classify this as a tool, not an indicator. So fixed range volume profiles are huge for me. And then this is just Market Cipher B, another huge form of my analysis. I do use a lot of indicators, but right now, this is what you're seeing. Volume profiles, Market Cipher B. Super overpowered if you learn how to use them correctly. I want to make life-changing money. Shout out to Bag Holder Pro. Let's get it. Trenches are definitely harder than trading perps right now. Yeah, shout out to Fractal. The other thing, too, is the one thing, right, that makes me kind of like really feel like my niche, right, being in the charts and trading perps is a good place to be, is because it's a skill that you can learn and have for the rest of your life. Whether you're trading crypto, you could transfer over to stocks, you could transfer over to Forex. All these skills are transferable to other markets, and it is not reliant on market environment, right, or market stage, right? Because like for meme coins, Solana meme coins were going crazy, and then when price went down, they disappear, right? Because you need the attention, you need that exciting, you need basically a bull market to make money in meme coins, right? Now, maybe that changes over time, but when it comes to trading, longing and shorting, simple technical analysis, right? This is something that you can learn today and use every single day of your life until the end of time or until you can't trade anymore, whatever the case might be, right? But you're not a slave to a bull market. You're not a slave to a bear market. You're not a slave to a trending market. You're not a slave to a ranging market. You could trade all different conditions. Whereas meme coins, it's like people make a lot of money, and then it's like all the excitement ends, all the liquidity gets sucked out of the meme coins, and it's like, no one cares about meme coins anymore. I have to sit on my hands. And hopefully I made enough money before to help me live until the next time that you have those the big attention coming to the meme coins. So that's just kind of generally, personally, why I do what I do, right? It's very, bull market, bear market, sideways, up, down, we make money. So, and you could transfer it to other things as well, right? Because I always thought that too. Is like people would be like, yeah, but what if they make crypto? Back, I don't think this is the case anymore. Like back in the day, it used to be like crypto's a scam. They're going to regulate it, and you're not going to be able to use it anymore. It's like even if that happens, like I'll just go to stocks, right? Like I could transfer this skill, although slightly different in behavior, right? Very easily transferable. So there you go. Let's see. I trade tulips only. Shout out to Pat, My Passive Freedom. Yeah, it's the best market to be in. All right, let's continue on here. I'm good with either one life-changing money or wife-changing money. Shout out to Satoshi. I would prefer life. I would never want wife-changing money. I don't have a wife, but I would never want to get rid of Miss Candles. We always say Mrs. Candles, but it's really Miss Candles. Bitcoin 2% away from all-time high, and we have bear market sentiment. What's happening? Shout out to Nirvana. Yeah, it's I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know. People, I don't know. Bear market sentiment up here is crazy. Crazy. Like, I mean, I guess you do have to think, like, if the top is going to come in, you got to look at prices coming up, right? Which I always cover. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, when you look at what's going on here in the macro, like, if you've been through multiple cycles, I think you could start to sense, like, all the things coming together. Not just a gut feeling either, right? I'm not just saying, like, I can feel it coming. It's the events unfolding in front of you, right? And it's, again, it's even from a chart perspective. It's just like, I don't know what the news, what's going on here? Oh, I got to get rid of the sauce cans real quick. I don't really care what the news is, right? Likely there will be something that comes in, whether it's rate cuts, maybe the bill getting signed is going to be the news, right? Eventually there's going to be some kind of thing, some event that happens that is going to be able to carry us higher, right? But obviously, looking at the bounce here at the sweep of $100,000, or, I wouldn't go all the way back here, but like the signs are on the chart, right? And then whatever that bullish news event is, let it come in and let it carry you up. So yeah, as I always say, show me the charts, I'll tell you the news. I don't know what the news is going to be, right? We have some ideas of what it could be, but whatever it is, right, it's going to be fueled by something so the retail investors can come in, right? But they're not looking at all the signs, from the good entry points, potentially the higher low at 75,000, right? The dip below 100,000, this little higher low that we made. The signs are on the chart, right? Just fill in the news, whatever it's got to be, let it come in. So yeah. Shout out to Dave Digital Drop. The lady holding the baby, Dave. I don't know why that emoji is so funny to me. He's just dropping rings, babies, and women holding babies in chat. Shout out to Dave Digital. We're all ahead of the curve to be in crypto. Shout out to Megan. Satoshi says, my whole life changed because of crypto. I won full custody of my son because of the money I made trading crypto. I'm hooked for life. Shout out to Satoshi Glakamoto. I wish I had an applause emoji on the or an applause sound effect on the chart. I'd hit it for you, bro. Shout out to you, man. Congratulations. I actually think I remember you telling us that when that happened. Let's see. Smash a like button for all-time highs tomorrow. America. Shout out to Gen Z. Yeah, are we going to see fireworks for 4th of July? Could be the case. Could be the case. But again, wonky volume on the 4th of July is also very likely. I mean, I'm not going to lie, guys. Last 4th of July, we had some fireworks to the downside. Where was it? I think it was this dump right here. Yes. I was, never forget that. I got home with Mrs. Candles. I was sitting on the couch. And here's just proof that no one's ever a perfect trader. Guys, I thought I had the stop loss set. Got home. Was just sitting here looking at on the 4th of July at night, just being like, well, hot dang. Babe, I'm down a Honda Civic right now. And I almost got liquidated. I came within like $1 or $2 of my liquidation level and then got the bounce back to the upside and closed the trade and I think like for like a 2K profit. Not because I'm a legend trader or I'm the GOAT. Pure luck, right? Absolute stupidity to not know that I didn't have a stop loss set there. And I just sat there and I showed Mrs. Candles. I was like, look at this. And she goes, oh my God, why? And I was like, I'm a moron. I'm just kidding. But for real, kind of low key, right? It's just like, why the heck did I not have my stop loss? I thought I had it on, but thinking is not enough, right? You got to double check. You got to make sure. And I will tell you now, I don't think it's happened since. I've learned this lesson many a times, and this was one of them. This was the worst it's ever been for me, where I almost lost a bunch of money. And yeah, now I very rarely forget my stop loss. Why? Because I double check it every single time. Learn through experience. Let's see. Yo, shout out to Satoshi says, Frankie, you are most definitely a legend trader and the GOAT. Shout out to Satoshi. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. In that moment, I was just, what I should have done was went to Party City and, just in this moment, right? One moment does not define us, obviously, but in this moment, I should have gone to Party City and got clown makeup and just started putting it on my face. But, not even that, right? I don't want to make people think that you need to be like super hard on yourself and on your losses at all. For me personally, I had no excuse to do that, right? It's like, especially with how much I go over this every day with new traders and stuff. It's like, how the heck am I? It's like a driving instructor forgetting to change his oil. I don't. A mechanic forgetting to change his oil, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, don't get too hard on yourself. I'm just kind of like being self-deprecating. But yeah, pretty crazy. Shout out to Satoshi though. I appreciate you, man. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, guys, I don't really have much more to update. We'll see what happens tomorrow. If we get some kind of crazy move tomorrow, I will go live. I'll drop a market update, something like that. We do have some giveaways to do, by the way, at Tony D. Let's go ahead and run the giveaways if you can. The meme of 2025 is alt season soon. Yeah, shout out to DK Insight. I always want to call you D Knights. Yeah. It's alt season soon. And I'll be honest. I mean, probably alt season soon. I mean, guaranteeing it would be crazy work. But, yeah, I mean, with everything lining up right now, one thing that I've been looking at, or not have been looking at, but like one thing that we've preached heavily on the channel is like we need rate cuts, right? This is a condition that has been met every single time in every other bull market for alt season to come in. And, if you want to go super simple, super broad, super wide, it's like once we get the rate cuts, altcoins are probably going to perform much better, right? Is that going to call the day where alt season starts? I think it's kind of trivial to try to call the day or the month. But, at the end of the day, if you get rate cuts, Bitcoin screams into a parabolic move, probably creeping up on some kind of alt season to come in. And, when I say some kind of alt season, not this, right? We're talking big boy moves down, big boy moves. And we even brought up some levels in the premium Discord. If I were to pull some support levels, how low can we go on dominance, right? I would just simply pull a volume profile here. And I'm having the same thought that I had on the premium live stream, which is where like I would have liked to see that value area high a little higher. But big levels that I would look at would be, I would just simply look at the structural tops here, probably this one right here, right? Like between like 48 cents and like maybe you make it down to this value area high at 43 cents. I don't know if you go that low, but like, we're talking big boy moves on for alt season, right? Every time we dip down, people are like, alt season. This was the best chance we had for alt season, in my opinion. Although we didn't have the rate cuts or anything, it was, somewhat of a significant drop. And obviously, we saw a lot of things perform really well. Taking a look at XRP, right? This is when you saw XRP take the big rip to the upside. But that's not alt season, right? That's just like a mini alt season, right? Or just like a bullish altcoin moment, right? What you want for alt season is absolute bloodbath on dominance, right? Like you're going to open the chart and it's going to be like a shock. You're going to look at it and be like, oh my God, we're dumping, right? You're going to open up the chart on the daily and you're going to be looking at it and you're going to be like, oh, good Lord, we are nuking. Oh my God, this is crazy, right? Not just little pops to the downside. So, but yeah, I think honestly, I said this recently, I think alt season's become a meme in general. Not even when it's coming in, but I think alt season in general has become a meme because it's like everyone's thinking to themselves, everybody's calling for alt season. Everybody's calling for alt season. Like everyone always, even if you're not calling for it, everyone talks about, oh, I can't wait for alt season. I can't wait for alt season. I think a lot of new people are probably thinking like, yo, these crypto people are completely delusional. I've been buying altcoins forever, and they've never gone up significantly. What is this alt season? It's this mythical thing that doesn't seem to exist. So if you're new to crypto, just understand alt seasons have happened before, and, I would say there's a very high probability of them happening again. But we're just in a different environment right now, right? Which will, obviously, the rate cuts are going to, if we don't get the rate cuts in September and they don't happen until after that, maybe all season gets delayed even more, right? But just remember, that's a very, very, very big, Tony D said check texts. Let's see here. Oh, my God. Why would you send me a picture of that, dude? Oh, my God. You didn't even write any words. Just straight up calf, dude? That's dirty. And a foot pick? Oh, my God. Tony, you got to chill, bro. Oh, my God. I'm just kidding. Oh, no. Yeah, let's just run them now. Let's just run them now. It'll be easier. Because, yeah, unless something crazy happens, I don't really plan on doing a, unless something crazy happens, I probably won't be going live tomorrow, unless you guys want to save it for Monday. But I assume most people want to do it today. Alt season list. Fart. Shout out to Dave Digital. That's like going to the States to visit. Okay, shout out to Dutchie. I don't know what that was in reference to. What is going on? Pepperidge Farms, remember Pepperidge Farms remembers when there was an alt season. Shout out to World War. It's not happening because everyone's expecting it. Shout out to Ratio. I can't hate that logic. But it's like everyone expects the bull market to happen too. And like, when I'm looking at what the masses are thinking, it is more like, I would say like, yeah, it's like everyone expects the bull market to happen, but it's like everyone who's calling for like bull market now, bull market now, bull market now, bull market now, right? But everyone expects the bull market to happen, and it always does happen, right? I think it's the timing and the specifics that are like the hardest thing to try to like anticipate, right, or call, especially with something like alt season, because on a price chart, it's just easy. It's not easy, but like you could just look for the technical signals. That's said this yesterday. My anticipation for the bottom of the bull market or bottom of the bear market in 2022 was a dip down to 12 to 14K with a weekly bull div, like to be on the simple side of things, right? We got the weekly bull div at 15.5. You're not going to get it to the dollar every time, but like when you see a massive weekly bull div like this, and then your money flow starts to come up. And it's not just the div, right? You could put in a weekly bull div, put in a lower high, and then another lower low, right? But it's like, hey, this is a good chance of being the low of the bull market, right? So if you have not been DCAing in since down here, right, it might be a good time to start DCAing in here, even if you go lower, right? But once you start seeing the money flow come back up, you start to break structure, you start to hold it as support, you're like, okay, well, hey, now we have money flow crossover into the green on the weekly. This typically indicates the bull market is starting, right? And the bottom, at least the bottom is in. Almost historically, every single time the money flows cross over into the green, the bear market has been over, right? The bottom has come in. Even in 2017, or 2018, right? 2018, money flow crosses over into the green right here. Bottom's in, right? Yeah, but we got a big dump. Yes, but the bottom of the bear market was still in, right? So, when you start to combine all those things, it's a little bit simpler. It's a little bit simpler to look for those bottom. Like alt season is very difficult, right? Because again, it's like rate cuts are a big thing, amongst other things as well. I know, yeah. Shout out to Dave says we're approaching 4 million alts. All right, let's see. I want a Crunchwrap. Shout out to Megan. Crunchwraps are my go-to. Yeah, 4 million alts is crazy. I do think alt season will change over time too, right? Like, I don't know. I said this yesterday. Maybe gone are the days where you're just like picking random alts out of a bag and everything's ripping, right? You can buy whatever you want. It's going to pump. Maybe you see something different happen where you have to be a little bit more picky on the projects. You have to like hop around narratives a little bit more. Yeah, it's like with the amount of alts, right? Approaching 4 million alts is crazy. So it's like not all of them are going to, not all of them are going to rip, right? Not all of them haven't ripped in the past as well, but like it's like, it just gets super diluted, right? We need a Trump tweet. Shout out to My Passive Freedom. Absolutely. Secretly buys. Dave says, I'm sticking with Bitcoin. Secretly buys virtuals. Hype. I'm not going to lie. I should have bought Hype when I saw that Morgan J video. It's crazy. Jesse says ETH to 0. Make alt season great again. You guys are crazy. All right, let's let me see. Let me check my text one more. Oh, wow. Oh. That could not have been any weirder timing. I was literally about to check my text messages, and Tony dropped in the winners of the giveaway. Let's go. Winners at JPYO. I'll go ahead and oh, he already pinned it. Jesus. Can't keep up with Tony, man. All right, so it was 10 Cardano bags. JPYO at Mortimer. Jedi Skirk, let's go. Megan, let's go. Nick Flip, let's get it. Giga Longbottom. Yo, Satoshi Glockamoto. Scott Watson, because I can bump it. And My Passive Freedom, our giveaway winners. Let's go. Congrats, guys. You got a free bag of Cardano. To win that, go to the free Discord, go to the Help Center, and claim your free prize. We will not ask you for money. We will not ask you for your passwords. I will not trade for you. So be very, 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 very careful. But just go to the Discord, go to the Help Center, and claim your free Cardano. Let's go, baby. Oh, let's get it. Shout out to Giga Longbottom. Let's go. Beyond all-time high, do you have an indicator / tool beyond spider lines? Beyond all-time high, do you have a tool? Shout out to Matans. Do you mean to, like, find all-time high targets? Is that what you're talking about? If so, Fibonacci extensions are where I find a lot of my targets. Spider lines go on forever, so these will never not be a target, even when Bitcoin is at $650 million. So, yeah, spider lines go on forever. But, yeah, Fibonacci extensions are big areas where I like to look for my larger targets, not just on Bitcoin, but altcoins as well. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Fibonacci extensions, spider lines. In price discovery, those are mainly the two big rules, two big tools that I like to use. Yeah, World said fib levels, right? Yep, absolutely. Fibonacci extension levels, absolutely. That's how I was able to find this target, which, by the way, this target was looked at, again, not to brag, just to show you how, like, magical TA can be. Pulled from the high. Ever since the low of the bull market came in, right, we were looking, right, and I think during the bear market, right, I think I had put out a Bitcoin deep dive talking about, like, potential bull market targets. And, you know, even, like, when we're down here, we're looking at, like, well, hey, if we break the all-time high, the next big levels to look at will be between 81. I took this level off the chart just because it's not as significant. But between $91 and $102,000, right? And, you know, down here, that seems crazy. And then that's why when we pushed up here, I was like, wow, this is crazy to see. 6-digit Bitcoin sitting in the tickers here. You're just, like, seeing those. It's crazy. 6-figure Bitcoin. But it's just because you anticipate it for so long, and you can just see how predictive these are. This level was right. This zone was here ever since we put in the bottom, right? Pulled from the high to the low, you get those extension levels. And the next one, hopefully it gets respected just as well, is sitting where? I would say 120K honorable mention, but between about 136, I would say 120 and 137,000, right? Right up here. Come play around in here. Break out of here. Maybe you can work your way up to about 150 to 175. Break out of there. Look up to 209 to 240,000. I'm not going to hold my spot bags till 240,000. I'll tell you that much. Is it impossible to go up there? Absolutely not. But again, we have to see how things develop, right? You know, if the signs come in up here, I hate to say it. You know, I got a lot of, I don't even want to say hate, but I got roasted in the comments, as I always say. When we were looking for the bear market after this bear's retest, nobody wanted to hear it, right? But we saw the signs on the chart. It's going to be the same thing here. I will take it. I will take the arrows if I have to, if I think the top is coming in here. I cannot ignore things on the chart. Just because I want price to go higher, right? I want a price to go higher here too, right? But when you see those signs, weekly money flow crossing into the red, it's typically not a great sign. Yo, shout out to Cuz I Can. Congratulations. Shout out to Cuz I Can. Bump it. Is he? I didn't even see him in here. Where is he? Was he in here? Koozie Can. Show yourself, please. Do you ever renew spider lines? Because I saw Crypto Face. Shout out to Shout out to Crypto Phase, uses Spider Lines 2.0. Yeah, so Spider Lines, right, the original ones, which, Crypto Phase is the creator of Spider Lines, as far as I know. But originally, the original Spider Lines were drawn from back here, right? They're essentially just trend lines, right? There's nothing really, they're just trend lines drawn from a specific pivot, right? So back here, the original Spider Lines were pulled from this high right here that we made in, let me pull up around the weekly chart, pull up the Heikinashis. So yeah, it was pulled from the top of this candle right here on June 24th, 2019, right? So you're just pulling them from all the tops of these candles and then just lining that ray over this big candle right here, right? The new Spider Lines, and you could technically draw these. I have these drawn on other assets as well. You don't just have to draw them on Bitcoin. I have them on Pepe. I have them on Ethereum as well. They're essentially just trend lines, right? So like another, at the end of the day, you could draw Spider Lines from really anywhere, right? If you're using that kind of same theory. These happen to be super respected. So I really do like the original Spider Lines, but the other Spider Lines, I don't know exactly where Crypto Phase pulls the Spider Line 2.0s, but for me personally, right, if I pull up my, is it on my cycle chart? Let me check here real quick. I do have another batch of Spider Lines. They may or may not be pulled from the same spot. Yeah, I tend to rely on the so these are pulled from the current bear market, right? So the original ones are pulled from, again, the low comes in, you pull them from these highs up to this high. The new ones are pulled from these highs to this high. This is where I have them pulled from, by the way. He might have them pulled from somewhere else. And if he's pulling them there, I would assume they're probably very, very well respected. But the other place that you can pull them from is from the current bear market, right? Those were pulled from the previous bear market. These are pulled from the current bear market. So I have them pulled from these highs onto here, right? Onto this, pull the weekly chart. And I have them pulled onto this. Oh, these aren't Heikinashis, that's why. I was going to say, why is that not lining up? So yeah, mine are pulled from here onto this high candle on April 10th. Would it be wrong to look at a spider line from here? I mean, from a TA perspective, right? From, if you pull a spider line from here and then lay it over, say, this candle, right? We'll know it's the red one. Let me hide the current ones, right? So, like, they're essentially just trend lines, right? Like, you get respect here, you get respect there. Maybe if we come down, you get respect at 77K. Who knows, right? So you could kind of pull them, like, you could be experimental with them as well. But yeah, I would say, like, even if you pull this one, yeah, you get some resistance there. A little support there. So, yeah. But I do have my other spider lines. I would, maybe this is where he pulls the 2.0s, but the only place that I have them pulled from are from 2018 and where is it? Right here, right? So it's like from these lows to the high, get the big breakout. And these are obviously respected pretty well, right? You get support, resistance, support, resistance, perfect resistance, support here, breakdown, support, resistance. So yeah. And then actually I could pull up Pepe as well, right? So if you take a look at Pepe, what Pepe chart is it? Where is PP? I think I have spider lines on here somewhere. Yeah, so I have spider lines on Pepe, and I could just show you, they're just pulled basically like after a significant dump to the high candle. Pull up the weekly. Heikinashis. Actually, I think these might be pulled on the regular candles, actually. Yes, they are. So yeah, like these are pulled from this high to the top of that candle, this high to the top of that candle. These even like cut through too. But you can see here, if you come on down to a lower time frame, how well respected they are, right? You come down, get the bounce, you lose it, you break down, resistance, support. Whoops, just moved that one. Support, cling to it here, resistance, support, resistance. Didn't really respect it, resistance, bounce, support, flip it to resistance, drop down to the next spider line, support, resistance, So you can kind of see how they are respected. And these are just pulled randomly. Not randomly, but they're kind of using the same theory, just pulled on a different asset. I also have them on Ethereum. Let me pull up the weekly. Let's see here. I think I have a folder here. Spider lines. And I draw them on regular candles and Heikinashis because they do give you different levels. So I have the regular spider lines. These are pulled from the 2022, right? So these would be like the newer spider lines pulled from here. You can see resistance, support, lose it. It's kind of hard to tell with all the TA on right now, but you can see breakdown, bearish retest, send it to the downside, big support. And then I think I also have the old spider lines on here as well. Yeah, 2018 spider lines. You can see these are also respected. Let me go ahead and clean up the chart here real quick just so you guys can see a little better. Right? Resistance, back up, resistance, some kind of support, support, resistance, a little bit of support. You front ran there a little bit. Support, resistance, support, resistance, support. So yeah, you can kind of see that. And where is this coming in at? Wow, this spider line is sitting at, it's literally sitting on our next target. The next spider line to the upside for ETH is literally sitting on our macro target. Like right on that golden pocket retracement. It's crazy. So yeah, even if I pulled it up here, probably even closer. Yeah. So there you go. Little spider line sauce for you. So yeah, I would just pull them from like bear market lows to the first like significant high. That's kind of how I have them put. And they are respected, right? Just showing. And then you can also turn these on log and non-log, and you also get somewhat different levels, right? So if I pull this up, let me pull the spider lines. We're just doing like a spider line masterclass right now. Right? So if I just take off the moon mission, right? So here's all your spider lines. These might not, yeah. So you could also take a look at like non-logarithmic, right? So and they do give different levels. So let me pull up a lower time frame so it's a little bit more tangible, right? So here, if we put it on logarithmic, right, you have this massive spider line flying through here. You break down, resistance. You break above it. I mean, I actually didn't even tap it, but you broke above it and held. Continuation to the upside. Front run it there. But oftentimes, like if you turn from log to non-log, you might be saying, well, hey, we front ran this level. We never tapped it as support. If you turn off your logarithmic on your chart, well, you had a non-log spider line sitting right there, which was literally tapped to the dollar, right? So it does give you, like, you kind of get like two sets of spider lines. You get the non-log and then the log. If you're looking at non-log, you don't have any resistance here. If you turn it on log, that spider line is right there. Same way here, it's like there was no support here, but then you turn on non-log, you did have that support right there. So I look at both of them. So yeah, there you go. Didn't mean to go on that long of a tangent for spider lines, but that's just my 2 cents. But yeah, I am not the creator of spider lines. CryptoFace, I don't even know if he's the creator. He was the first one I saw using them. So shout out to CryptoFace. If he pulls wherever he pulls the spider lines from, I would say those are probably extremely legit. Shout out to CryptoFace. Let's see. Spider silk that can stop a bullet. Shout out to Nick FLP. Let's go. Shout out to Inner Circle Gangster. Said there's so many potentials with spider lines. It opens up too much of my imagination. Yeah, and that's with anything in trading, right? That's why I always say you have to pick and choose what you look at, because a lot of times, more often than not, too much information is bad information, right? So, like, if you ever find yourself getting lost on the chart, and I'll even say, like, right now, we're kind of in a situation, like, for me personally, where it's like, we have all these mini ranges, and we have all these ranges all over the place. Everything is kind of overlapping. Sometimes you just have to, like, take a step back and start looking at, like, only significant things, right? Like, this starts to look a little bit crowded. But, like, for example, right, you're always going to have so much stuff on the chart, like especially if you're looking at multiple time frames. But like you never want to lose track of like your higher time frame, not only bias, but like your overall outlook, right? Like if I have weekly, monthly, daily MPOCs on, I have my monthly, daily, weekly horizontals on, and then I turn on my macro volume profile, my major volume profile, my upper volume profile, my VP2, right? Like this is untradeable, right? So you do have to like start to separate things that you want to pay attention to. So kind of the way I do that is I will turn basically everything off and I start on a high time frame, right? I'll turn off the dailies, the weeklies, the monthlies, and I'll just look at a blank chart, and I'll say, like, where's my major volume profile? It's right here, right? There's my simple volume profile. Now I'm just looking at a range. Deviate below, back to the high. Deviate above, back to the low. Deviate below, back to the high. Deviate above, what's next? And then this is where I start to build my thoughts off of, right? I'm looking at this. I'm like, all right, so this is the major price action that we're looking at right now. And let's just, for example, say I want to look for a potential long position if we come back down to this value area low. Now, this is just kind of like extra sauce here. But if we got to move back down here, maybe I'm interested, just for argument's sake, we have a golden pocket, a value area low. Do I have any other levels here? Well, let me check my daily levels. All right, I have a daily level right here. Noted. Let me turn that off. Actually, I'll keep it on, right? Do I have any weekly levels in this zone? I have a weekly level on that 786 as well. Okay, so this 786 is heating up to be a pretty hot level, right? A pretty strong level. Now let me check my daily MPOCs, right? Because my overall thought process here is if we get a bigger pullback, maybe I'm looking for a long or a bounce at least off of this golden pocket 786 value area low. So I already have a daily, a weekly, a 786 at the bottom of this zone. Nice. Now let me check my daily MPOCs. Okay, I have two MPOCs right in the middle of here, right? Nice. That adds more into my zone. Now let me check my monthly levels. All right, no monthly level. Turn that off. Weekly levels. Oh, I have a weekly MPOC in here as well. Look at that. Beautiful. Now I have a super confluent level of support. Now I'm thinking to myself, well, hey, if we came down there, this level's looking saucier and saucier. But what I could also do is start taking some of this other stuff off the chart, right? Like if I'm just looking at this idea, let me remove everything else. Right now it's looking very saucy because it's like, could we bounce off a local level here? Yes. Could we bounce off a local level here? Yes. Can we bounce off a local level here? Yes. Or here, or here. Could we reject here? Yes. But you want to focus on each individual trade, right? If we don't come down there, I just won't look to take the setup. But I want to be aware that that is a very big zone of support, right? And I'm not going to lie. I probably should have done this before to show you guys why this level is so important. But you can just see, like, very important level. I can't guarantee we'll get down there, but if we did, I'd be interested on a bounce, right? So you have to kind of separate things, and I took all the other levels off. Now, let me see if I could find any spider lines in here. I'll be honest, I wasn't looking at the spider lines before, but there is a spider line in here as well, which adds to the confluence, right? So, and again, you don't have to look at every spider line. You can take this one off. Be like, my idea here is if we come down, I want to look for a long. So now I've built up that kind of confidence in this level, right? And now I'm not just zooming out looking at a bazillion different levels. Right now, if you zoom out here, look at all these MPOCs. Oh my God, it's super overwhelming. But if you approach it in the way I just showed you, it kind of cleans up your thought process, right? So I could say like, hey, for a nice big swing trade, if we can come back down here, and if we start retesting or retracing, this might be a good place to look for a bounce, right? Then I can write this down. I could put this in a folder, label it swing long position, day trade long, right? And then if I want to look at lower time frames for a different trade, I can then go ahead and hide that folder. I didn't make the folder, obviously, but if I did, it would be in one folder, and I would hide all that, right? And it would all be gone. And then I'd be like, all right, let me now zoom into my local time frames. Let me go down to a 1 hour. What is happening on the 1 hour, right? And I can look at a little bit more local price action and do the same thing I just did, but here, right? It's like, okay, well, hey, let me just pull my fib from the, just argument's sake here, right? Low to the high. It's like, okay, well, hey, do I have any other levels in here? Let me check and it's not just horizontal levels. You could check it with macro profiles as well, right? Okay, well, no confluence there. Nah, no real confluence there. Nah, no real confluence there. Let me see my dailies. Actually, I don't know if I have that daily marked out. No, there is no daily really. Come back to the 1 hour. Let's check the weeklies. No. Check the monthlies. No. Check the weekly MPOCs. No. Monthly MPOCs. No. Daily MPOCs. Okay, cool. Now I have an MPOC close to this golden pocket. Right, it's not the perfect setup, but this is how you can start to build that confluence. Then you can flash on your spider lines. Regular spider lines, oh, I have support right here. Right, so you can kind of separate it. You don't want to ever have everything on at one time. Right? You can look at multiple things, but you just want to try to separate it and keep things nice and organized in folders. It can really, really, really help it. You can even see my trades here. That's kind of what I do, right? I build out my idea. I highlight the zones. I talk about what I want to look for, and I hide it into the folder. Long number 1, long number 2, short number 1, etc. Right? That way, I have things separated. I'm not just looking at a million things at one time. So yeah, but I totally get it, right? If you, it can be overwhelming when you're just looking at like a million different levels. But at the end of the day, a lot of levels are important. Like if I turn on all my TA here, right, this is going to be like so ridiculous. Actually, let me just hide those setups. It wouldn't be fair for the people on the Discord. Like if I just like show all this, not that you would even be able to make it out. It's like, okay, this is impossible to trade, right? Does it mean that all these levels are invalid? No. right? But from a context standpoint, you're probably not going to want to look at these all at the same time, right? So yeah, and that's why I like to separate things in folders. If you don't know how to do that, check the beginner series. I have a masterclass on TradingView showing you how to make all these folders, organize things. I show you how I mark up my chart from the beginning of the day. I sit down as if it's the beginning of the day. I show you how I mark out my levels, how I build out my thought process for the day, and then I show you how to make the folders. I show you how to make the MPOC templates, all this good stuff, indicator templates, Lux Algo, Market Cipher, etc. So you don't have to keep like going in here and like playing with all these buttons. It's just like, I want to see Market Cipher, boom. I want to see Lux Algo, boom. I want to see where the MPOCs are, boom. I don't want any indicators, boom. Clean chart. So there you go. But I kind of went on a rant there, but hopefully that helps somebody out there because I know it does get confusing to look at a bunch of stuff all at one time. Let's see. Shout out to CK, said, Frankie, can you just do a quick how to set up the SVP? I watched the beginner series today, and maybe I missed that. But I couldn't find the, I think you're talking about like the MPOC video. It is labeled, the thumbnail is Find Secret Levels. So it is in the, I'll just direct you right to the video. Actually, one of the mods, if you guys can drop that in there, I would greatly appreciate that, but I could probably find it right here real quick. Where is it? I think it's called Find Secret Levels, not Secret Indicator. Where is it? Critical moment, 104K. Imagine it's just sitting on the channel and never went public. I'm kidding. I know it was public. It actually came up on my feed the other day. It was like, do you want to watch Frankie Candles, how to find MPOCs? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that guy. Let's see. I'm going to find it for you. Target, must break, Bitcoin, watch the signal. Find secret levels. It's called Easiest Way to Find Key Levels for Your Next Trade. MPOCs Explained. It was posted on December 27th. As a matter of fact, I will just get the shareable link, and I will drop it right hither. There you go. I think that's it. So, yeah, click that and watch it. It shows you how to set everything up very simply. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Found. All right, there we go. Shout out to Satoshi. But there you go, guys. Other than that, I mean, hey, dang, we went overboard, guys. We went overboard here. We've been live for more than 2 hours. But with all that being said, guys, if you just tuned in, scrub back to the beginning of the stream. Stick around to the end to catch that extra sauce. But I give you my full thoughts on Bitcoin, what I'm expecting next. If something crazy happens tomorrow, I'll go live. We did the giveaways today. If it's kind of just chilling tomorrow, I do have some things. I'll be out for most of the day, so probably won't be going live tomorrow unless Bitcoin makes all-time highs. I'll just cancel everything I'm doing and just go live with you guys. But yeah, with all that being said, that's all the time I got for tonight's live stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. Smash that like button on the way out. And that's all I got. Hasta pasta. Be careful, and when you light the fireworks, guys, just don't hold them in your hand. I saw some crazy videos on Instagram. Please don't do that. It doesn't look fun. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!
Coach, what's next for me, Joe? I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the f*** is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Space shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, don't know what is in me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose, and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah.
K Diggity says, where to go? He said, prediction, BTC breaks all-time highs, and he ends up streaming anyway. Shout out to K Diggity. If it's not a stream, it'll at least be an update video. But we'll see. Can we break all-time highs? Maybe. I don't know. Those higher time frame VWAPs might be able to give us a cool up, but we'll see. All-time high, I'll drop an update or go live. If not, go touch some grass, guys. Bitcoin will be here on Monday. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run